Sony misled us, all of us. They knew what they were doing. That trailer for Madam Web, that was pretty solid, that, and it promised quite a few things. Final film comes along, and it is way different to what the trailer promises. It's misleading, and it's not right. This has implications on other films and the MCU, and the end result is a monumental disaster of a film. Let's recap with spoilers. Here we go. Welcome back, it's Rich. So, Madam Web, man, did this film bomb. I mean, we knew it wasn't going to be great because of the track record of the Sony Marvelverse. They've not got a great history there. But the trailer looked quite promising. You know, it showed Spider-Woman, it showed Ezekiel as this kind of bad Spider-Man, so it had some interest in that, and it captured my attention at least. But oh my days, this couldn't be further from the truth. So let's dig in and recap this and just what this means for other films as well. I'll go over the story, full spoilers, but let's go for it. Now, most of you watching this will know, but if you've got any uncertainty, this is not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. That's your Avengers, your Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man, all those sort of things. The Sonyverse, that's Morbius, Venom, Madam Web, the upcoming Kraven the Hunter. It's not got a good track record. But let's just be clear from the start. This is what we're dealing with, the Sonyverse. The film's a total train wreck from the start. Everything from the acting, to the direction, to the script, to the story. But the biggest thing for me is just how much of a misdirect it is to the audience and people like me and you. The trailer is nothing like the final film. But first off, let's just talk about why this has probably actually happened, this film. So this is to make 2 points. One is to make a ton of cash from Sony by referencing Spider-Man all over the place in the film. But that doesn't actually equate to anything at all. And number two, we've got an entire female audience that they're wanting to capture. As we've got a female-led character, a trio of female lead supporting actresses, directed by a female with female writers on the scripts and so on. But that won't work. As much as we'd like to try and appeal to all and have this modern fairness and equality, the numbers in the box office in reality just don't lie. And I'm not against this, it's just how it is. The demographic of people watching these kind of films is generally a male audience. Just like the majority demographic of rom-coms and musicals is female-led. Now, this doesn't apply to everyone, of course. I'd love to sit with my missus watching every Marvel and Star Wars movie, but in the majority of cases, it doesn't happen. So this film's kind of doomed from the start because it doesn't have the same interest to the main target audience. They're just switching the target and hoping for some money. It was the same with the Marvels. That was a female-led, female supporting actresses, and a female villain directed by a female. It's similar as well to the recent Star Wars film, the recent trilogy with a female lead and massive interference from Kathleen Kennedy. And that's the hard truth where the numbers and the demographic percentages speak just how it is, unfortunately. But to keep away from having any flack about the old male-female equality arguments, let's focus on this film and why it's the mega flop that it is. So Dakota Johnson plays Cassandra Webb, who through a near-death experience develops the ability to see into the future when death's involved. This is the result of having some kind of super spider ceremony from childbirth and a backstory involving a mum in the Amazon. We get Cassie with these visions seeing the potential death of the three supporting actresses, because they're going to grow up and eventually get some spider-like abilities and powers and cause trouble for Ezekiel Sims. He's the guy in the black kind of bad Spider-Man costume that we see in the trailers. So the whole film then revolves around Cassie trying to stop this guy from killing these three girls because he thinks that they're going to kill him in the future because he's got the same kind of future visions. That's kind of the whole film, and it's very much like Terminator in that sense. You've got this constantly stalking threat, and you've got the John Connor style person who's Cassandra Webb in this case trying to protect it because she's got info on the future. The film's littered with ridiculous circumstances throughout, and it's not just that the film's bad, it's more that the trailer that came across quite promising is ridiculously misleading. Case in point, the main introduction of the various female Spider-Woman heroes, something new in comic book movies, and yet what you see in the trailers is pretty much the entire shots of the film. Now, I've heard this kind of comment before in the finished product, people saying that that's pretty much all of what's in the film. And when you watch it, you maybe get 5 or 10 minutes worth. So it's not all you get. But in this case, it pretty much is. There's literally something like 5 to 10 seconds in the film. And that is genuinely it. At no point ever do we see them do anything other than what's seen in that. And it's all in flash-forward visions. It's blurry, quick cuts for mere seconds, with Madam Web in costume literally right at the end in a future vision for a few seconds just before the credits come up on screen. The whole rest of the movie, and that's 99.99% of it, they're normal people in normal civilian clothing. There's no mention in the film at all of any of these girls getting any kind of super ability, getting into any kind of costume. It's not even hinted at. There's no explanation of it. There's nothing about this happening at all. It's just mind-boggling that a trailer would kind of suggest and promote and push this and have you believe that they would, and there might be some nice, cool, kind of big battle that we can watch towards the end. It's blatant marketing. It's misleading, and at its best, it's damaging to this film and other future films such as Spider-Man, the upcoming Kraven the Hunter. A point in case, I'm not looking forward to that now, after Venom being just okay to below average, Morbius being terrible, and now this dumb effort with misleading trailers. Regardless of any future Sony Marvel trailers that we get, we've got to assume now that they're probably misleading everyone. I remember waiting in line at local cinema to see a film, and I saw the Morbius poster on the wall that got this tagline saying, "A new Marvel legend arrives," and it did make me think, that's misleading marketing from Sony. Because people, the casual viewer, is going to see that line and kind of think, oh, there's another one of these Marvel dudes joining the Avengers, Iron Man, that sort of thing. And they're not. But I'm pretty sure that's the angle that Sony was going for with that kind of quote. So the film kicks off with Cassandra Webb's mother. She's pregnant with Cassandra. She's in the Amazon in Peru with Ezekiel Sims. That's our bad Spider-Man guy. And they're looking for this ultra-rare spider because it contains some ridiculous properties inside. These can be used for healing. It's not explained why or how, but that's why they're looking for it. However, Ezekiel's got his own agenda and he wants it for himself because I think he knows that it gives some sort of abilities. Again, it's not really explained. But without going into too much, we get some altercation. Cassandra's mother dies, gives birth, Ezekiel runs off with the spider, and she's left as a baby in the jungle, raised by some kind of spider-like people native tribe. And then, whatever reason, how this happens, it's never explained. She grows up and she's shipped off back to United States and becomes a paramedic, an ENT doctor. So there you go. So the main thing that the film starts to drive early on is that Cassandra can see visions into the future, and it's normally surrounded by some kind of imminent death that's going to happen either to her or somebody else. And this kind of happens over and over and over and over again. So watching this, I kind of noticed that about an hour into the film, and I looked at the time, it's an hour in, we're still establishing that our main lead was still trying to get to grips with her future visions or flash forwards. We could have had one or two and we'd just get it, but man, it's again and again. 1 hour in, nothing else has happened. And I sat there thinking, this is just dumb now. One of these visions then starts where Cassandra's at some kind of accident emergency scene and she sees a vision of the ambulance driver dying. He gets smashed by a lorry. She's there at that scene with her co-worker. They're there as paramedics, and that happens to be Ben Parker of Spider-Man fame. But because of this, she runs off to try and speak to the ambulance driver and stop him driving off. That conversation probably lasts about 30 seconds. He obviously thinks she's completely dumb and no idea what she's talking about. He drives off and proceeds to get ploughed into by a lorry about 5 seconds later. If she'd not have had that chat with him, he'd actually be completely fine. So that was really dumb. And that's not implied by the film. She genuinely caused that accident. It's clear the lorry just comes out of nowhere and smashes into him. If it had just gone in time, it'd have been way clear of that lorry, by a mile. We then get the train sequence as seen in the trailers, and this is kind of about that hour point. So she's still getting to grips with these future visions, and she's having 10 of them on this train as well. And then we get to start to see Ezekiel Sims, our main villain, who wanders in his suit with bare feet. And by the way, he walks around the whole film when he's not in his spider costume in bare feet. And you got to wonder, why does he do that? It's never mentioned. It's never explained. There's no reason for it. Doesn't matter where he is. He's always got bare feet. Anyway, he's got the same future visions that Cassandra's got. And he wants to attack and kill the 3 young ladies. As he wants to do this before they become spider women, because he's seen that they're going to be a threat to him. He's got these visions and he doesn't want them killing him and, to quote, destroying everything he's built. What that is, we don't know. It's never explained, explored, or referenced to, or even hinted at in this film. We then get a mild action scene with the black-suited Spider-Man villain and Cassandra and these girls trying to leg it away and just get out of the city somehow. And eventually Cassandra drops these off in the woods and tells the girls to stay there because they're now in a stolen taxi. She's wanted for kidnapping them, she's wanted for destruction and other misdemeanors. So stay there, don't do anything dumb. I need to go back and review my mum's notes and find out what's going on. She tells them I'm going to be exactly 3 hours, you stay in the woods. But the girls get bored very quickly and decide to wander off to a local diner that's at the edge of the woods and start dancing around on the tables and trying to pull some lads, despite that near-death experience. So that's just a little bit dumb. We then get a guy in the bar who notices that these are the kidnapped girls because he's reading a newspaper and they're on the front page of the paper in an article, despite this only happening literally a few hours ago. It's already in the newspapers. Anyway, he rings 911 so that the authorities are now alerted. And that also alerts Ezekiel, because he's got a little partner woman back in his base or hotel or whatever it is, who's trying to track everything. Cue the trailer for the cafe mini-lame fight scene. Anyway, they manage to escape again, get back to some motel where Cassie then decides she's got to go back to where this all started with her mum in the Amazon in Peru and see what the spiders were all about. So Cassandra Webb, a wanted criminal under surveillance from the police, and Ezekiel in a stolen taxi cab manages to drive all the way to the airport, board a flight and get to Peru with a photo of her mum in the Amazon standing beside a tree, and she finds that exact spot. I mean, what the... She's told by a rare spider local native that she's got more abilities than she thinks, and we then get a play on the with great power comes great responsibility, with the line being something like, when you take on the responsibility, great power will come, and she returns back home with some more powers. But we don't really know what. Meanwhile, then we get a scene with Ben Parker's sister-in-law, Mary Parker. She's having a baby. Yeah, that's Peter Parker, but it's never named. And she starts labour, so they decide to take her to the hospital. But all of them, that's Ben, the sister-in-law, and all the girls as well, jump in to a stolen cab and head for hospital, which is just completely dumb. So then we're getting towards the end of the film already. So this is the final act. You're looking for some nice big battle, and we just get a very lame, below-average battle. So Bad Spider-Man shows up in his black suit. Regardless, nobody's got any abilities. None of the girls have got any abilities. There's no spider costumes. You've got Cassie Webb with some new, strange kind of teleporty power where she can kind of project a bit of a ghost version into multiple places while the actual physical body just stands still staring straight at Black Spider-Man. And that means he can just belt a one in the stomach, which he does do. Cue the boring stuff aside, the fight ends with Ezekiel getting squashed by a large Pepsi S and then a P. Despite him being hit twice in earlier scenes by cars, blasted through walls and windscreens, this does finish him off. Brilliant, he's gone. And then Cassie falls into the water during this, and she's rescued by the 3 young girls who give CPR. And thankfully she's then fine, but for some reason, it's made her go blind, and she's disabled and needs a wheelchair. And that's roughly it. The film then ends with Cassandra stating that despite this disability, she couldn't be happier in life. She's exactly where she wants to be. We then literally get a few seconds of a blurry vision of her in a red suit, and it is very blurry and quick with red glasses on, and you see the ladies from the Spider-Man trailer in the Spider-Women costumes. Cue the end credits. It's just freaking lame, and it's so far from a comic book style film or the trailers that it implies, it's just mind-blowing. It's so dumb you can sum up the film in just a couple of short sentences. A lass who sees glimpses into the future sees 3 young girls who somehow one day will get spider powers and be murdered by a man who sees the same and thinks they're a threat to him. That's it. It's ridiculous. It's a solid 1 out of 5 for me. I wouldn't even give it a 1, but I've got to give it something. So to be fair, it's a movie, so I'm going to give it 1. You've got Kraven the Hunter coming soon and a Venom 3, and they might actually be good. I really hope they are. I genuinely do, because I like these characters. But this film does nothing to make me want to watch those or have any hope for them, and this can alienate people from this. But not just this. Some people wrote this in with all comic book films, all superhero films. It's damaging to everything. And Sony is burning through potential characters and great past comic storybook heroes and villains without any care other than just for money. Sony's got no idea how to approach these kind of films, how to direct them, how to script it. They're just ruining Very, very important characters for people like me, people like comic book fans. I could just go on and on and on, but I'm not going to do. So note to all, be aware of Sony and their Marvel efforts. Take trailers with a pinch of salt and expect the worst. There's recent news as well about them fighting with Marvel about Tom Holland on Spider-Man 4. They're wanting some massive, big, huge, big budget multiverse thing. Marvel's trying to keep this low-key. They want to keep it small. They want to keep it grounded and spend some time in it. Sony's wanting this film out next year. Marvel's not. They're wanting to take their time with it. These kind of films take a long time to make when they're big and they're done well. Sony's just rushing it. They're just wanting the money. And it's not going to work. And unfortunately, Sony can do this because they've got the rights to the Spider-Man films. If they can get plenty of cash out of Marvel, then great, they'll do it. But if Marvel don't work with them, they're in control and they can go ahead and do whatever they want and they could really start destroying things. But there you go. That's my rant over. Let's hope that there's much better to come from this. So until next time, keep happy, keep smiling, peeps.